Today we talk about conditioned scarcity versus true scarcity. Welcome to the Solemn Yugioh channel where we discuss everything collecting and investing in Yu-Gi-Oh! And sometimes just collectibles and finance at large. Now this is an interesting topic that I saw brought up by Reserved Investments before, and I thought, you know what? This is something I want to talk about. I've wanted to talk about it for a long while, but I never really could put into words quite as well. We're essentially looking at the difference between a card that's actually rare and a card that is made rare by its age and deterioration and natural attrition, essentially. So what does that mean? Well, when something is actually rare, that means that there's just not that many out there. No matter the condition, no matter anything, there's just not that many out there. If you want to look at something that's actually rare, you would talk about something like a prize card. Maybe there's only 6 of a specific card ever made. That would be actually rare. Maybe your standards are different. Maybe you say Crush Card Virus. There's only, whatever, less than 60 or whatever. That's the amount ever made. That would be actually rare compared to all of these set cards out there. Maybe there's other Shonen Jump prize cards where you're saying, oh, there's 100 of this. Maybe that's what you call actually rare compared to set cards. Set cards, we know, there's tens of thousands of all of these fuckers. Even LOB Blue Eyes. In 2002, there were thousands of that card in existence because you literally had printers day and night on making sheet after sheet after sheet after sheet after sheet after sheet for all of these stores throughout all of these nations. LOB Blue Eyes is not actually rare. SDK isn't rare either. DDS isn't rare either. All of these cards at one point had tens of thousands of copies in existence. And this is true for all the modern cards, and you may say, oh, but it's only one per case. Do you know how many cases are made? Have you ever seen the inside of a distributor, knowing that there's multiple of those? The pallets upon pallets upon pallets with cases and cases and cases and boxes and so forth. You need to wrap your head around how many of these set cards were existing at one point. So all these set cards and the game cards and all of these cards, they aren't really specifically truly rare. There were tens of thousands compared to a prize card or whatever that usually had a single sheet, and that single sheet was cut up and then it was distributed, maybe somewhere destroyed because they specifically only wanted X copies of the card. That would be actually rare. And then if you go into, more actual antiques, old paintings, you may say there's only one of this. That could be more actually rare. So then we reach conditioned scarcity. Things that are made rare because they were kept in great condition for a long time. If we look at graded cards right now, we know, well, there's only, I don't know how many actually, but let's say there's less than 200 of this 1000 Eyes Restrict. I haven't checked the pop in a while. You could say this is condition scarce, and if this was a 10 more so, this is actually a bad example. Let's say this is a 10 for a second, pretend he's really pretty, you know, right? Yeah, what a cutie. He's really pretty, okay? He's a 10 now. That could be condition rare, because even though at one point 10,000s of copies of this existed in the world, and those copies still exist, by the way, a lot of them were either lost, but more importantly, their condition deteriorated over time. And so in absolute numbers, the number of 1000 Eyes Restricts on the world is still maybe 10,000 or whatever. But in this condition, again, pretending it's a 10, there's not that many left. And so its rarity comes from its condition. Understanding the crucial difference here is what's really important. Because if you are buying things because you believe that it is rare, not understanding what rarity actually means, you are completely misjudging how many of these cards can actually come back to the market. And if you misjudge that, then what are you really basing anything on? Like, you have to look at supply and demand. And if the only thing you're judging is demand, well, demand can wane. And what will happen to the supply? How much supply is actually there? That is when that rarity truly starts mattering. Again, when all these markets are up, it's all fun and games and you don't have to worry about anything. But when that market turns, the supply is really gonna matter. You may have, a drop in liquidity. That's not the biggest deal. But when you have a drop in liquidity and an overabundance of supply, that's when you really are in trouble. Another really good example of this is actually the PSA backlog. Right now, we don't know how many of this guy are still waiting in that backlog. We don't actually know if it's even condition rare. Maybe. that PSA backlog has 10,000 Thousand Eyes Restrict in it. And again, I don't think that's the case. I think that's extremely unlikely. But you have to make these considerations when buying any card. Now, if you're going through true rarity, let's say Shonen Jump Crush card, you can talk shit on condition all you want. And maybe you can have true rarity with condition rarity on top. If you're buying the PSA 10 Crush card, I'm sorry, that pop of 3 might go to 4 or 5 over the next decade. But it's not going to be 200 any day. But so that downside risk is far, far smaller. It's why I also bought my PSA 5 Crush card. First of all, I actually wanted to have the card. But secondly, I was like, well, even though it's a 5, I'm feeling relatively safe. This card is not going to have some pop explosion anytime soon. How could it? It was started from X amount of cards in existence and only went down. And that X amount was stupid low already. Compare it to any set card ever, you start from 10,000 and then you need to go lower down that ladder as the condition destroys things. Now this is where the whole fallacy with investing in modern and so forth starts playing out. Because if something isn't absolute rare, and most cards, card games anywhere, MTG, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, most cards are not absolute rare. Except for certain prize cards in each of these hobbies, and even alpha, you gotta start counting, but most things are not absolute rare. They just aren't. They were mass produced. So you already have to give up on absolute rarity unless you've got the prize cards. Then you look to condition rarity and you say, okay, fine, the absolute rare, the Pikachu Illustrator, I can't sell a house to buy one. The Crush card, I can't sell a car to buy one. So I'm going for condition rarity instead because I can still afford that. If you are buying something that is getting value because of its condition rarity, and then you start buying cards that aren't conditionally rare, that's when you also start playing in these dangerous zones. I'm seeing a lot of people that ask me, should I buy this card damaged? Maybe that will go up as well. And yes, it might, because markets can be irrational for a really long time, but then you gotta ask yourself, wait, the only reason that SDK or LOB Blue Eyes in a PSA 10 is worth so much is because they are condition rare. They are rare in this condition. But then you ask yourself, are they rare? Damaged? No, not at all. There were thousands upon thousands of copies. And so as that price goes up on these damaged ones magically, people start realizing, hey, this Blue Eyes that I've been sitting on, that I've had in my wallet for a while and that I bought for $2 some time ago, I can sell this now for 500 because Mr. Timmy over there wants to pay that? Fuck yeah. And so the supply can actually hit the market that way. When you start buying all these PSA 1s and 2s and 3s and damaged cards and heavy play cards, it never had absolute rarity. Never. But it also doesn't have condition rarity. So you are judging the price of that card purely because of all the demand we have right now, and the supply, which is huge, just never got time to hit the market. That is very dangerous. That is when you start really speculating on the most risky stuff. So understanding that difference between absolute rarity and condition rarity will also guide you on your other buying behavior. Whether it's not going too ham on, shit condition old cards, or even good condition new cards, because those good condition new cards, they're not absolutely rare, and even condition rare, they aren't, because everyone still has them in the condition they came out in. Even if a card is one per case, just understand how many cases are out there. If you start seeing liquidity problems in any of these markets, the cards that were neither of these, they are the ones who are gonna get flushed out. Hope you found it interesting. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you soon. Ciao.